Hello, everyone, again. Welcome and happy Monday. I hope everyone is looking forward to another amazing and wonderful week. This is Devin Murray with Attract More Families and another masterclass. I help private, parochial, and charter schools around the country to help grow their enrollment with better marketing and better business practices. So, today we're going to talk about understanding mobile. I've had some questions on this from some of my mastermind members and some of my other clients. So I just wanted to kind of answer everybody's question on one, and I was looking at new cell phones this weekend also. So that might have a little bit to do why I'm bringing this up. So, real quick, why does mobile even matter? I know sometimes we all kind of forget how important it really is, but remember that your parents live connected to the internet by their phones. They have the internet, the World Wide Web is within inches of them 24/7, and half the time it's in their hand. They're always surfing, they're always looking, they always have that available to them. And that's a mobile device. So we need to remember that's how they are communicating with the world. And anytime that they do any kind of research, they're almost always starting on a phone or a tablet. They're starting the research when it hits them. People don't wait now to, I'll go ahead and I'll check that when I get home tonight. No, they start the research right then and there. And quite frankly, there's a lot of parents that might not even have what I'd call a real computer, the old classic desktop or laptop. With the power now and the speed and size of tablets and even some of the larger phones, people just simply do not need to have a big computer. If they need one, they might have it at work and they can deal with it there. But people just don't have them anymore. People are living on mobile devices. And mobile is also important because social media links are almost always anymore from mobile. So if someone comes to your Facebook page, people are, and then they come over to your site for some reason, they're more than likely coming from a mobile device. They were looking at Facebook and checking up on their friends on Facebook on their phone or maybe an iPad or a tablet of some kind, and they've come over from that. So if they saw your ad or a link from a friend or a shared post from a friend, they're coming over from a mobile device to your website, so your website needs to be able to handle them and continue to look good, or they're just going to click back and forget about you. The other thing to realize why mobile matters is because most people now check their emails, especially their personal emails, on their phone. That's the device that they get their email on. So if you're sending them an email message that's trying to get them to come to your website for any reason, whether it's current parents, prospective parents, donors, anybody, they're all going to be coming to you on a mobile device more than likely. So again, you need to make sure that your site looks good. Now you can go check out your analytics. Again, I've talked a lot about Google Analytics before. If you need to, you can go ahead and find that article. But you can look, and one of the things that you can do is you can see what type of device people are coming to you from. And there's one that says desktop and mobile. A laptop is considered under the desktop variety, and you can look and see traffic. And I'm now currently seeing 70% or more on all the sites that I'm working with of people are coming on mobile devices. 70%, and I've seen some that are as high as 90%. And that also includes when staff and students are logging in to admin sites or homework sites and all of that. Even with all of that considered, I'm still showing 70+% of people are coming over on mobile devices. That's why it matters so much. Now, mobile is very special. There's some things that we have to think about and consider when we're looking at mobile devices. One of the first one is the speed. Mobile is just not as fast as a home computer is. It's really not as fast as DSL. Even the 4G networks are still not up to those speeds. And even people who are on 4G might not even be getting that full speed that they think they are, because you're not always in that network. Sometimes you're outside of the network. Sometimes it's busy. Maybe you're in a data slowdown mode, not just for you, but for everybody, or sometimes it's for that person. Maybe they're just inside a building and they're not getting great radio reception. Remember, wireless phones, mobile phones run off the airwaves. So anything that blocks that radio wave is going to slow down that transmission of information because it might have to request that bit of data 2-3 times before it can get through the wall. So that's going to slow it down. So, and we all know that being inside buildings, our reception drops off and our speeds drop off. We have to realize that when we're thinking about someone coming to our website and looking at our page. You also have to realize that the hotspot or the router speed might be slow or busy. A lot of us and a lot of your parents have the Wi-Fi codes for all the restaurants they go to and where they hang out for lunch. Well, those routers can get very busy, especially during lunch, and you can see a speed drop off. And people don't even realize that they're always on them. Like myself, I know all the restaurants that I go to, I have the Wi-Fi codes. So, and when I show up at that restaurant, my phone automatically links to theirs, and that can sometimes cause my phone to slow down, especially when there's a lot of people there. Well, I have to consider that now when I'm thinking about how my website looks to parents, prospective parents, donors, anyone who's coming to my website. I have to think about that and how that can be slowing it down. So realize that the speed is not as fast as we think it all is when we're looking at mobile devices. So some of the things we have to think about is how fast is my web page loading? Is it loading quickly or is it loading slowly? Are there videos on it that are set such that the whole video has to load before the whole page before the rest of the page will load? That's very common. There's actually ways that we can set and have the page load and then have the video load in the background. What about pictures? Are my pictures too high of quality and too big so that the computer has to load this massive 10-inch wide photo for only a 3-inch screen? I have to think about that. I also have to think about page length. How long is that page? How many videos are on that page, and pictures and words and everything? This is one of the reasons why with a mobile site, a lot of times it's better to think about having shorter pages but more pages, especially for those initial pages that someone just lands on. We have to think about all that because even if each picture is okay, maybe not optimal, but is okay, but you have 10 of them, think how that's going to slow that page down. Loading. The other thing we have to think about is the operating system that the mobile phone or the mobile device runs on. These are just not as advanced as a desktop computer. I always call them real computers, even though now, yes, my iPhone has more processing power than any of the Apollo spaceships ever did. So I can call it a real computer too, but compared to what my Mac does, it's very different. But because it's a different operating system, we have to think about that when we're looking at mobile. And one of the reasons that they've had to do this, why it is a different system, is because, quite frankly, mobile phones and mobile devices have limited memory space. They can't have a 2 gig operating system that can handle all the options and nuances of a web page. They just can't do it. Mobile devices don't have that much memory all the time. You also have limited processor speed. They can't run as fast. The faster a processor runs, it creates more heat, it burns more of a battery life, it takes more power. Well, mobile devices all have limited battery life because it's not connected to power all the time. So they have to say, let's slow down the processor so it doesn't take as much power. They have to say, hey, let's not have all this fancy stuff. Let's not take up as much memory. So because of that, mobile devices by nature have to run differently. It also means that the operators, that the programmers have to take some shortcuts to make sure that things work. They have to slow down processor speeds. They have to have a simpler web browser that doesn't have all the functionality of what a desktop computer would have. It also means that they have to cut some of the flashy or new edge graphics that might not display because those are the things that take a lot of programming and a lot of processor power. And the programmers might just have to say, listen, for the 3 times a year that someone's going to hit a website that has this, do we have the mobile phone that has only a third of the memory for photos and music and everything? Or do we say, nope, when that shows up, it's just not going to show up well? And that's what they do, is they say, hey, listen, this is not going to happen all that often, so we're going to have so we're not going to support that option. But you have to think about that as an owner, as a director, as the marketing person. You have to think about, okay, so if this big, flashy, cool thing might look awesome on my desktop, but what does it look like on that mobile device? And think about that. Also realize that Adobe Flash is not always supported on all Apple or HTML5 devices. Now, most have back-ended and have said that yes, we will support it, but it's not required to be supported. So you will see some versions of web browsers that don't support it, that don't support Flash, which a lot of us loved for a long time, to have websites designed in Flash, or to have a video play or a sales message play when someone shows up on our website on Flash. When that person comes on a mobile device, guess what? It just doesn't show. And I've seen people who have entire websites that don't show up on certain mobile devices because it's an entire Flash-driven site. And when someone comes on an iPhone, the site is just a blank screen. And they wonder why they're not getting people calling them. The other thing that we have to think about with mobile devices, quite frankly, is screen size, right? There's just not as much space on a mobile phone screen to display information. My iPhone has a 3-inch screen. My home desktop has a 32-inch screen. That's a significant difference there. So we need to think all the time about how much space we have and how to utilize that and how things are going to look on those smaller spaces. One of the things I see with this is images, right? It looks great on a big screen when my image is 6 inches wide, and I can see people's faces and eyes, and I can have that background and that panorama and doing the images with the faces in the third grid, I believe, is where they're supposed to be. But then when I shrink that down onto a mobile device, I can't make out the content anymore. Because there's the background and scenery, all of a sudden the people are now so small that they're lost. We have to think about that. And how is that helping communicate your message, your USP through image, when it reduces that way? Because the screen size is so much different. So the first thing you need to do is look and see, how does your school look on mobile? Right? Look at your website on all the different mobile devices. Go out, find an iPhone 6, a 6 Plus, a 7. Find some Galaxy, some Droid, some iPad, some Samsung Notes, and even look at it on a Kindle Fire. Right? Look and see, how does your website look? Does it look the way you want it to? This doesn't have to be anything big and fancy. You don't have to buy all these devices. I say just ask around your school. Generally, between all of your staff, your teachers, and some of your students that you know, you're going to find about every kind of device that you need. Someone has one, guaranteed. The other thing to do is to look and see, what are the devices your parents use? Are you an Apple community, or are you a Droid community? The Android operating systems, which run the Samsungs, the Motorola's, the Google Droids, all those are run off the Android system. And you'll find that depending on what part of the country you live in, or what part even of a city, you tend to find that people gravitate towards one or the other. Whether it's sociographically, demographically, psychographically, people tend to congregate around one device because their friends and family have it, so they get the same kind of device. So just look and see, or ask, what kind of devices your families and your parents and your donors are using. And make sure that your school's website looks good on those devices. Another thing that we need to look at with mobile devices is to make sure the navigation looks good. How does your website look to prospects and parents? Can they find the information that they need? Again, the mobile device is a lot smaller. So having that small navigation bar at the top that you can't see, that you'd have to zoom in to be able to hit the button, doesn't work. So you need to make sure that your navigation works so that people can find what they're looking for very easily. The other thing you'll see is that visitors on mobile devices, because the pages do load slower, it takes more time, they will not look at as many pages. Whereas someone on a desktop might look at 10 pages to find the information and to put it all together. Someone on a mobile device will look at one, maybe two. They're not going to dig as deep because it takes so much longer. You also need to make sure that your navigation is a drop down that people can easily see, and then it drops down so the print is big enough. Again, people aren't going to zoom and then try and hit the nav button. They want to be able to drop down and see things at a print size that they can read. And you need to make sure it's at both the top and the bottom of the page, because scrolling takes a while on a phone. You have to flip your fingers and you have to get way up to the top. So if someone has read an entire page and they need to go to another page or back to your home page, you need to make sure there's navigation at the bottom of that page for them to go to the page that they need to be on. Otherwise, the easiest option for them to do is, as always, is to close the browser, leave, and go do something else. You also want to make sure that your key pages are in your navigation. Sometimes what we do for a desktop navigation is more designed to look pretty and have the right words and make it fit lengthwise properly. But for mobile devices, we might need to change those page orders a little bit. Also realize that people are coming looking for different content sometimes. So we need to make sure that we have the home page, the contact us, the about, and if you have a blog, that authority figure site pages. Make sure that those are very near the top of the navigation and that people can understand when they see them what they are, because there'll also be no images generally. I know a lot of us like to use images to help people understand what that navigation button or link is about. That's not going to show up. So you might have to even change the names. Make sure that any of your on-page links are easy to find. This can sometimes drive me nuts. We tend to hide links to a program or a trip or special things about teachers inside our text. And that's really the only way to get to some of these other pages. Well, the problem is most people are going to be skimming very quickly. You can also find that depending on the browser, this is one of the shortcuts that they might take. They might not change that font color and underline it the way we think they would on a desktop. That doesn't always happen on a mobile device. And hover. People don't hover over a link with a mouse like they do on a desktop computer on a mobile device. So any kind of those flashy things that might show up when you hover over a link are not available to you on a mobile site. So make sure that you have that you've thought about that so that people can find what they're looking for. Another thing about mobile sites is they have what is known as responsive designs. And this is basically the concept of the content resizes to fit the screen. If you think about the classic website, which has the main content in the center and then a sidebar on either the left or the right. At some point, when you keep shrinking the screen size, it gets so small that that you can't read the font in the sidebar. So what a responsive design does is says, we understand that. So when this gets so small, we will actually move the content around so that it's readable and still at the right size. But what this means, though, is you have to think about and consider on your site, where does this content go? Where did that sidebar go and what was on it? Right? Was there critical information that was at the top of the page when it was full screen, but then as it shrinks, it goes to the bottom? I see this a lot with people who have contact information at the top of the sidebar, which on a full desktop screen means it's up at the very top so it's easy to find and people can get to that. But then when they go to a mobile device, all of a sudden that content, that sidebar contact, which is critical information, gets put at the bottom of all the main screen content. And if that main screen content is too long, then people can't find the contact information. So you need to think about, where does that information go when it does resize? Also, where do the footer links go? I know a lot of us love to put critical information down there. Calendars, links to homeworks and classes. All of those things we love to put in the footer. Well, what happens to the footer when the content is responsive and it redesigns? Does that stuff become lost? I've seen some responsive designs that drop it. There's others that put it so far down because it goes, the header image, the navigation, then the main page content, then the sidebar content, which sometimes can be significant. Then finally at the bottom they have all the footer content. It can be very challenging, and the footer a lot of times is broken up into a grid also. Spot 1, 2, and 3. Well, it orders them in that order. Now all of a sudden you have to start thinking, okay, where is the number 2 spot, which has the calendar of events that parents really want? What happened to that when it went to a mobile phone? Is it now lost inside that design? Also think about what happens with the navigation bar. Where does it go? When does it disappear? What was on it? Is it still readable? Lots of little things that you just need to think about, which is why I say just look at these on mobile devices and see what's happened. The other thing which you have to think about when you have a responsive website is what happens to third-party apps. How do they change? Google Calendars is pretty good about resizing properly, but I know that there are some third-party private school calendar apps that really don't resize. So all of a sudden now all the rest of your content shifts to be the right size and the right place, and this one app doesn't. It stays huge, so it makes the website very weird, and you can scroll and you have to scroll up and down and left and right to see the calendar stuff because it hasn't resized itself. So think about what do those third-party applications look like in the responsive design, and make sure you look at them. As I said, calendars are one of the big ones. Another thing we have to think about with mobile devices is we need things to load fast. Let's face it, people on mobile devices have very limited attention span. They're busy. There's a reason they're doing stuff on their phone, because they're busy. They're in traffic at a stoplight and they decide they want to look up when your school's dance program was or when the basketball game was. They don't have forever for that page to load. If they don't, if it doesn't load quickly, they're just going to turn and leave. They won't wait for the page to load. They know that the back button is there. They can close the app or they can move on because there's other options, which is not enrolling with you. Right? They're deciding, they want to figure out when the parents' night, the new parents' night, the welcome night, the tour night is. Because their wife asked them on the phone when they were calling to find out if they should pick up anything on the way home from work. And if they can't find that page because your site's loading slowly, they're just going to be like, nah, don't worry about it. It's Friday night. We'll go do something else like watch a movie, and our kid's doing just fine in public school. And then you don't get the enrollment. So some things you need to think about is images. These are some of the big things, especially when you have multiple images on a page or you have a header image that's huge. Make sure it's properly sized. Videos. You need to make sure that they load and play properly. Is it compressed properly so that it's not taking up too much space? Also think about autoplay and noise with a mobile website, mobile devices. Do you really want your video to start playing automatically at a high volume? Or would you want it to play silently with the thing that says pop up and says turn on your volume? Or do you not want it to play automatically on a mobile device? That's generally my suggestion, is to make sure that they don't play, especially because it might be loaded down. When that page loads, it might be not visible without scrolling. So now all of a sudden this person's at their office, they're at their desk, trying to sneak in a little bit of time to learn something about a school that they'd like to possibly let their child go to. And all of a sudden, blaring out of their phone comes you talking about how great of a school you are and how they should enroll. They're not going to take the time to find the pause button. They can't. They're just going to simply close it down and be mad at you and not come back to your website. So think about how these videos are playing and how quickly they're loading on your website. All right, so let's talk about options here. Probably scared you a little bit about what happens if you show up and your mobile website is not looking the way it wants to. It's not doing what you want it to do. The first thing is your website responsive or not? If your website is responsive, great. There's not a whole lot that we need to do quick. Just make sure that you update your images and your videos. Think about what they need to look like. Make sure that you have resized the images. Make sure that it's not auto playing at full volume, the videos. Images are probably one of the biggest things that I find trouble with, because we want to take the picture from our smartphone and upload it to the website, and on a desktop it looks great. In full DSL it works great because it's fast enough, but that image is 2 feet wide, which is not at all uncommon for iPhones to shoot a 24-inch wide image. Well, when all of a sudden that 24-inch wide image is being displayed at 1.5 inches, that takes a long time to load, and then you have 5 of those. That really slows down the website. So just make sure that you've looked and said, okay, what are our images? What are our videos? Are they doing right? Ensure the navigation is doing what you want it to do, that when the website goes responsive on a mobile device, that the items show up where they need to be properly. You also want to make sure at redesign you can think about kind of redoing where the content moves. For the price and the cost and the effort of doing that, I generally just find that as long as it's moving properly and the website is readable, so it is actually moving content to keep the website readable, great. Leave it alone. Don't spend the money. There's other things to spend money on. Let's just think about it when it does come time for that redesign in a couple of years, because you're doing a full rebranding. You've redone your school. Those reasons why we have website redesigns. So let's just think about that down the road. The other thing we have to think about is, what if your website is not responsive? So you made it on Dreamweaver 10 years ago. Nothing's really changed with your school, and so your website does not resize itself at all. What do we do then? And really with this, we have 2 options. The first one is simply to go in and do the website redesign. Most, if not all, WordPress templates are responsive. WordPress is really what powers the internet websites anymore. I heard a number that 90% of internet sites are based on WordPress. That's everything from my site to CNN are all done by WordPress. So this is probably what your site's on, and most of the templates that you buy now are responsive. And what I mean by templates is, with WordPress, WordPress is a content management system. And so the design of the page and the content of the page, the words and images on the page, are 2 totally different things. So we can swap those out as we want to. It's kind of like with wearing a red shirt or a green shirt. You can swap whatever shirt you're wearing all day long. It's still on you. There's nothing about you that has changed. It's just the way you look. You can also throw on a shirt and tie if you want to. Same you just look different. WordPress is the same way. We can throw these new templates on and have a whole new look and feel of our website in a matter of minutes, but have the same content, so the content has not changed. It's one of the things this is one of the reasons we go to WordPress so often. A template to buy, which is the shirt that you're wearing, the ones I use for private schools, I can buy them between $45 and $85, depending on how complex and how many flashy toys I want already built into it. And then it's going to take a couple of hours to ensure that the content looks right. Again, the big issue here being actually the images, because the new content is going to have, or the new template is generally going to have a little bit of a different width than the old content template. So, so some of the images that I might have had on the right are now kind of surrounded by words or something. So it'll take a couple minutes for me to look through all the pages and make sure that the content moved over properly. And then if I need to update the look and feel and like move a picture, I can. But again, that's really only a couple of hours. So moving over to a WordPress template that is responsive, this is not a $3,000 web design. This is a $500 project. There's also a great project actually for students to do if you have that age of students. So the other option that we can do if you don't want to go that path is to have just a mobile subsite, a mobile site. And this is generally a subsite of your regular website. You'll see these a lot. They're M. Ace Academy. They're M. Pope John Paul Academy.com. And they're just a subsite, so they're not the main site. And the content, you have to update the content on both sites as it changes, because it is a whole different site. But it's a mobile only. And what happens is the website detects a mobile device when it comes to the main website and sends you over to the mobile device or the mobile website. And that mobile site generally has limited pages. We don't do all the content because, again, it has to be updated along with the main site. So all the class pages and the homework assignments and all those things, we won't necessarily have those in the mobile site. We have on the mobile site what we need to get parents to enroll, to keep our current parents happy, and to get donors when we need them. So it has a lot limited pages. I might only have a 20-page mobile site versus a 60 or 70-page main site. One of the other things I drop out of mobile sites, by the way, is a lot of my blog content, because that's hard to bring over. But this is a very simple option. We can do this. We can do a mobile subsite really in using a specific WordPress theme or something like that for $100 of time and effort, and I can have it running in a day. And then also, you will find the mobile sites, the mobile subsites, we do generally have a link to the full site. So if you ever see on a site that says link to full site, that means it's a mobile subsite. And there's nothing wrong with that. We do it all the time. But then if I need to get to, say I am a parent and I need to get to the main site to see my kids' math assignments or classroom assignments, or I want to read the blog post that my friend told me about, I can hit the go to full site and it will take me there. So that's another option. Again, it's $100, maybe $150. Your mobile site is up, the subsite. So there's options if your website is not showing up well on mobile, if it's not being responsive. Okay, not quite sure why it's doing that. I love technology some days. All right, so let's just learn to love mobile. We need to. That's where people are coming from. We know our visitors are coming to us on mobile devices. 70% or more of our visitors are coming to us on mobile devices. That means we need to be working well for them. You need to make sure that your presentation, that you present the image that you want on mobile. When you look at your school on a mobile device, does it look the way you want it to? Is it displaying, is it transferring the information that you want it to? Make sure you have the speed, the operating system, and the screen size. Make sure that those are working for you, not against you. Consider those when you're making a website. Look at the navigation. Does the navigation work? Are people able to find what they need to quickly on a mobile device? Does your website resize, and does it make sense when it does? And does your website load fast on a mobile device that has a slower connection speed? Mobile is a special creature. We need to learn to love it. We need to understand it. We need to consider how it is going to affect our enrollment, either bringing new parents in or keeping the parents we have, and how it is going to work for anyone that also needs to come our donors, our benefactors, our sponsors. Now, would you like a second set of eyes? Would you like to have me come look at your marketing and your online presence and see what you are too close to see? That's what I specialize at. That's what I'm great at. Is it coming in and being able to have that distance to look and see what you might not be seeing? There's a reason why athletes still have coaches, why Tiger Woods, why Tom Brady, why all these guys still have coaches, because they know that they're too close to see those glaring mistakes, those glaring things that they might be missing. So that's what I'm great at. If you'd like me to come in and help you and give you a second set of eyes and maybe just look and see how I might be able to help you or what you can help yourself with that you just haven't seen, just feel free to contact me at trackmorefamilies.com. Set up a one-on-one or one-to-many consultation, and I'll be happy to talk with as many people as you need to, your marketing people, your benefactors, whoever in staff management we need to talk to, and see what we can do to help you make your presence online and all of your marketing in general better so you can grow your enrollments and make the extra profits that you need so you can grow your school and provide more to your parents, teachers, and students. Again, this has been Devin Murray with another one of my Monday master classes. Come back again next Monday, and there will be a new one here waiting for you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know too. If there's something in particular that you would like me to cover, also please let me know. I'm always up for looking for new topics and ways that I can help you. Take care, and God bless.